Good evening and welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure. I am James Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Thanks for spending your evening with me. You can always get at me a bunch of ways. There's Twitter at I am Pleasure at SA Sports Star. You can reach us on the phone lines, 210-656-3776. That is 210-656 ESPN. Or, of course, you can get us on our YouTube page. Go to SA Sports Star, like, subscribe, and you can see us right there, comment along with the show, as free agency is 23 hours away. I believe it officially begins tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock right here in San Antonio, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the Spurs do, because it is, let's say, one of the most exciting off seasons in Spurs history in terms of, remember when Tim came in 97, that team was already pre-ready. They had some injuries, they sat some people, but when they came back the next year, it was a fully functioning, really, really good team that added a really, really, really good player to it. Okay. This team is a team that finished at the bottom, and it tried to finish at the bottom. It probably could have finished closer to the middle if they had tried all season long and Devin Vassell was healthy all year long and there wasn't a hangnail on or a paper cut on Zach Collins at certain points of the year. So I do believe this team was a little bit better than its record showed this past season, but now you're adding Victor, and now that you have Victor, what do you add around him? Yes, you've got Devin, pieces I like, Keldon, Trey, and Zach Collins, I think, are both great people that could come off the bench. You got Wesley and Malachi Branham entering their second year. You've got Jeremy Sohan around Wemby, but you're still missing a starting point guard and a starting center. I have been vocally very high on going out and attacking with your free agent cap space that you're going to have for a Brook Lopez to play next to Victor Wembanyama and kind of take some of that pressure off of him this offseason. And remember this as we head into free agency. The CBA requires each team to spend 90% of the salary cap, which is $122.4 million by the first day of the regular season. So, obviously, there are things they could do, like extend Devin Vassell to kind of help bump up those numbers. But currently, there are 5 teams that need to spend money in free agency to get to that line of spending 90% of the salary cap. Those being Houston, who needs to spend 50. Everybody. I saw Kyle Kuzma. I saw Brook Lopez, Fred VanVleet. Like, if it's a free agent, the Houston Rockets have been tied to said free agent. San Antonio's second on this list with $26 million they have to spend by the first day of the regular season. Sacramento follows at 24, Indiana at 18.5, Detroit at 14.5. So the Spurs have to spend a good chunk of change this offseason. I don't think they can sit idly by during free agency and not do anything. $26 million. Now, re-signing Trey or extending that offer sheet to him, that's not going to cut it. Extending Devin Vassell, I also don't think that's enough to get you to where you need to be at $26 million. They've got to make a couple other moves on this roster. And this roster's pretty loaded when you think of Blake, Malachi, uh, the starting five, whether it's Trey or they go and get point guard. Roby1 Kenobi says bring Harden back to Texas only if he's going to Dallas. I I don't want him in Houston. I know for a fact. I think 0% of Spurs fans, even probably negative percent of Spurs fans would like James Harden on this team. They just don't like it. They don't like him. I get it. I don't want him back in Houston either. So I feel like that ship's run its course and probably also, judging by what he did in Houston, not the best role model to have around a bunch of younger players in the league. Is a guy who wears a fat suit to get out of a place, off season kind of falls off, has to work his way back into shape during the season for the most part, actively forces his way out of multiple situations, including one right now. I just don't think that's a guy I want around Victor Wembanyama or Jeremy Sohan or, guys that are coming up in this league that are trying to learn from Tim Duncan and David Robinson and Manu Ginobili. I think those are better people for Victor Wembanyama and this younger Spurs core to lean on than would be a James Harden. Sorry, Roby1. I don't see it as a fit for the San Antonio Spurs, but who I do see as a fit for the Spurs, somebody we were talking about yesterday, outside of Brook Lopez or along with Brook Lopez even, if you can make it happen. You've got players. Nobody except Wemby is off the table, I don't think. I know a bunch of people would love Keldon to be involved in that trade, but if he's not, I would include Devin. I mean, I don't think there's a person outside of Wemby I wouldn't include in a trade to possibly bring in a 23-year-old all-star guard in Darius Garland, who has averaged over 23 points a game last season. I think he would be a really good piece. And what is we said all season long? Spurs need a point guard. They need to go get a point guard. They need to trade for a point guard. Dame Lillard's a name that has been mentioned, but at 32, I think 23 and Darius Garland helps fit the timeline of Victor Wembanyama and others better. And then you can spend your free agency money that you have on a Brook Lopez that helps bring kind of that veteran presence to this team. I think Darius Garland would be a sick addition when you're talking about Victor Wembanyama and Jeremy Sohan after another year and a full offseason of breaking down that shot and reworking it. It's going to be very, very, very exciting to see what here in the next 22 hours and 50 minutes happens when free agency starts, especially right here in San Antonio. I think that's going to be one of the biggest storylines to follow. Like most of the stuff we know James is looking at the Knicks and Clippers to get traded away. The other free agency names, the guys that aren't huge names, they're important pieces to a championship team, I think. But Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, like those are the best names available in free agency. Kyrie Irving, I think the biggest dominoes to fall will, or at least some of the most intriguing things going on, will be what happens with the San Antonio Spurs and how they decide to build this team out around Victor Wembanyama. Rebecca Gonzalez says on our YouTube live feed that no James Harden for sure. He should go to Atlanta. Plenty of those certain clubs there that he likes. And I hear the Wings are pretty good too. Frank Boteo said, I would try and trade for Jalen Suggs. That's an interesting thing, Frank, because I look at Orlando and they have a ton of point guards on that roster. They brought in Jalen Suggs a year ago. This year they bring in Anthony Black. The year before that, they brought in Markelle Fultz. Like, they've brought in a bunch of big name, or at least high upside type point guards that are very young, and they obviously can't play all of them. So it'd be interesting to see if they, this offseason, try and move off a couple of those guys. If they think that someone like Anthony Black out of Arkansas, who they drafted this year, is the point guard of the future, do they try to move Jalen Suggs this offseason? Very interesting to see what may happen with Orlando there, Frank Mateo. I'm intrigued. I want to see what's going to happen. Tomorrow can't get here fast enough, and I'm going to kind of be locked into my phone over the weekend like Woj or Shams would, because I think that it is going to be a very, very exciting offseason for the San Antonio Spurs, more so than I think San Antonio has ever known, because not only do you have this money, not only do you have to spend this money, $26 million by the start of the season to get to the new CBA's requirement of 90% of the salary cap, but people want to play with Victor Wembanyama. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how far this Wemby effect goes and stretches out after, seeing draft lottery, seeing the excitement around the city again, seeing draft night, seeing what happened after the draft, seeing when he touched down in San Antonio, his welcome at the airport. The Wemby effect has been far felt. And I want to know how far this thing is going to go this offseason with Victor Wembanyama, because I do think that there is something up the sleeve, because it is far too quiet in San Antonio for them not to do anything. Even if it's something as small as $20 million and bringing Jakob Poeltl back, because he's going to be one of the top free agents available. He would also provide a big body that would help protect Victor Wembanyama and do the dirty work down low at the 5. So all of these would be home run hits by the San Antonio Spurs. I'm just very intrigued with their over $30 million in cap space, almost $40 million, by the way. And it can get to $40 million if they release some non-guaranteed contracts. They got to spend 26 of it at some point before the first day of the regular season. I just want to know where it's all going and what this team around Victor Wembanyama looks like when they open the regular season. And of course, Summer League starting very, very soon. He's not going to be playing in Sacramento when they start next week, but the week after that, Vegas, Victor, he's going to be there. It's going to be insanely fun to watch. Probably going to be one of the most watched Summer League games of all time. I'm just guessing, but when ESPN releases the ratings for that game, I'd imagine the phrase will follow: blank million people tuned in to watch Summer League game, the most watched NBA Summer League game in ESPN history, or something like that. I'm just like, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, earlier this week, the Blitz got a chance to catch up with Troy Aikman as he talked about the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what he thinks, if it's Dak's time to start putting up or shutting up, and what does he think of the division that they play in. Is it open for them to finally make that run at least to an NFC title game? Troy Aikman coming up next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's R&R in the morning.
Friday on R&R in the morning, it is RJ Ochoa showtime. He'll join us at 7:30.
NBA free agency is imminent. Are the Spurs going to make a move? It's going to be a busy weekend. We'll talk about that. Your favorite place to be when the fireworks are going off. The party starts at 6. Yeah, I said it.
It's your wake-up call. R&R in the morning, 6 to 10 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Not all pizza places are the same. Mellow Mushroom originated hand-tossed, stone-baked classic Southern pizza. Not in the mood for pizza? Order a calzone, hoagie, sandwich, burger, or a mellow salad and see how care goes into every item on the menu. Take your pick from 24 draft beers and or handcrafted cocktails. And many of the pizzas can be made gluten-free or vegan. Mellow Mushroom is at 1604 in Stone Oak Parkway. Hang with friends, watch the game, and mellow out at Mellow Mushroom.
I was in a terrible car accident. I suffered a traumatic brain injury and also injured my spine. My daughter-in-law called Jeff Davis. After expenses and attorney fees, I received $86,559. I want everyone in San Antonio to know Jeff was here for me.
I'm Jeff Davis. If you were injured by a car or large truck, call me at my San Antonio office at 444-4444. That's 444-4444. There's only one number to remember, and that's 4.
Red, White, and Dew savings are happening now at the Home Depot. Prep for all the summer guests and gatherings with up to 60% off select patio sets now at the Home Depot. Shop and save on a wide variety of sets and styles to find what suits your patio best for another season of hosting with the most. Find the perfect pieces for your space with up to 60% off select patio sets. So sit back and relax into Red, White, and Dew savings happening now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Macy's 4th of July sale has great deals on everything you need to get you, your crew, and your space ready. Get 50 to 60% off swimwear for all and 30 to 60% off bedding and bath essentials. Plus, take 40 to 50% off almost all sandals now during the Great Sandals Sale. Macy's Star Rewards members can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. See Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off regular sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
Response to Diamonds Direct's amazing finance offer has been off the charts, so we're extending it through this Saturday. You can go into the holiday weekend with some new bling and spread your payments over as long as 5 years with special financing, or save up to $5,000 on the spot. It's our best finance offer ever and our most aggressive pricing. Fine jewelry has never been more affordable, but this amazing offer ends this Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. Details and more at diamondsdirect.com on approved credit.
Friday at Dive Bar, 6422 Babcock, dive into some live country music with the Chase Martin Band starting at 8. Enjoy $3 Bud Light, $5 Rufflemans, and $5 Crown, and the kitchen's open till midnight. Dive Bar, 6422 Babcock, a free rides venue.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Listen to 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star on your Amazon or Google smart speaker and just say, Alexa, play the Blitz on San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM, SASportsStar.com. I'm James Pledger. Some of the comments during the break. Frank Mateo thinks that Suggs could be bought low and a huge potential. Rebecca Gonzalez was wondering if we should know by 5 o'clock tomorrow what the Spurs are going to do. No, free agency takes some time, but the biggest moves will happen as close to the start of it usually, so the big names will fall. But free agency could drag out for a week or so, so I wouldn't be shocked to not have an answer instant comes to that, but we shall see. We'll all find out as the Spurs begin free agency tomorrow, 5 o'clock. And we will keep you up to everything that's going on as it happens right here on San Antonio Sports Star and right here on Extra Innings as well, as we will be into free agency by the time this show gets going. But you want to get something off your chest that you heard throughout the day, give us a ring, 656-ESPN, 210-656-3776. Fred Records did. Fred, how you doing, my man?
Hey, so doing good, Pledge. We were going to talk about that right angle thing, but real quick on the Spurs take that you had. Yeah, with the Garland, he's still 23. He's kind of going like we kind of, for the Wemby aspect, we want like a guy that's halfway, kind of veteran, kind of not. So, of course, the Dame Dimes is the best pick. But if we don't get that guy, you know what I mean? We can't go with a 23-year-old. Might as well just stick to Trey Jones.
I hear
On
you.
that aspect, you know what I mean? Like, because if you look at the roster, like how it's all made up, you're looking at Sohan, Johnson. You know what I mean? You put in the Dougie and all that. Like, everybody's there, especially the Wimby. They're set up for like we have actually a bench. You know, like if you mess with that, it kind of like messes up the rotation. Or, you know, if you want to go with that young point guard guy to come into the system, might as well stick with Trey Jones, you know?
I hear you.
So, other than that, you want to talk right angle now?
Yeah, what do you got?
He says that it's not a hypocrite because he always loses at gambling and he's got a spot over there. I don't know where he wants the money, but yeah, the NFL is kind of like that way, that they're sponsoring all this stuff or they get the money, whatever, and then all of a sudden, man, a year, like, to take a future out of a young guy, you know, for just, you know, I know it's written on paper, you're not supposed to do that. Like Minix was saying, hey, you can't smoke weed, this and that. But that was kind of harsh, you know, because they're actually still being a hypocrite because they're going against what they're actually preaching. You know what I mean?
Not really. I mean, the NFL isn't gambling. They're taking money from gambling to let them endorse and have their name out there so that they can promote their product, but they're not the ones gambling. Because if the NFL's gambling, then all of a sudden it brings into question, is this real?
Yeah. Because you don't think the owners are like on the down low doing something themselves?
No.
Okay. Well,
I mean, all of this is geofence tracked through FanDuel, DraftKings, wherever. It's a lot like if you have a DraftKings or a FanDuel account or something, you can't gamble in this state because it knows where you are. It tracks your location, which is how these guys got caught.
Yeah.
So all they're asking is you don't do it at the facility or don't do it on the sport. You can gamble on other things. You just can't do it on company time, just like I can't drink on company time.
Exactly. I got the pledge.
And you can't do it on the sport itself. Like if you want to bet on basketball or baseball, they'll let you do it. Just don't do it at work.
Yeah. No, I got you.
So I don't think they're being hypocritical. They're just taking money from this entity, which raises the value of not only what the NFL is doing, but the salary cap and everything else and what they're allowed to pay the players because, you know, the more money they make, the higher the salaries they can pay out. So this is good for everyone involved, and a select few are really ruining it. And if you start betting, like I believe one of the Colts players actually bet on Jonathan Taylor going over 100 yards. He like bet an over under. Like you can't bet not only on your sport, but on your own team because you have inside information.
Yeah, that's when you call the influencer card out, you know?
I appreciate it. Look, I will call Joe to the T when I think he's being a hypocrite. I thought he was being today on Trayvon Diggs. I thought his 11 interception year where he gave up 1,200 yards was the worst season. I thought this past season he was phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, you put it in perspective there because it's you know, and it all boils down to the money. Hey, Pledge, good shout out. 10 weeks, man. Training camp starts.
We're less than that. We're 4 weeks from training camp. We're 10 weeks from the first game of the season.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate the phone call, Fred. You're welcome to call back anytime. But earlier this week on the Blitz, speaking of football, speaking of the NFL, speaking of training camps around the corner, the Dallas Cowboys are around the corner. And Troy Aikman joined right here on San Antonio Sports Star with Jason and Joe on the Blitz as they talked about if it was time to actually start questioning Dak and his lack of playoff success.
Yeah, that's obviously been the frustrating part for them and for all Cowboys fans, that this is a team. If you look at it on the one hand as to what the Cowboys have done here over the last 25 years or so in the postseason, it hasn't been a lot. I think it's 4 playoff wins during that span. But then when you look at the same time frame and evaluate what they've done in the regular season, they're in the top 10, maybe even more than that, in terms of regular season wins. So they've had good teams for the most part. They've been competitive, and they've won a lot of games in the regular season that, for whatever reason, however, it just hasn't translated into the postseason, and they've not played their best football. And I'm not saying anything that they don't already know. That's what has to change. And the reason that the teams that I was a part of were able to do what we were able to do and win Super Bowls was because we were able to play our best football when the games mattered most. And it's why the Kansas City Chiefs and the other teams that have won Super Bowls, it's why they win them in any of those given years. The Cowboys are working hard trying to fix that, and my hope is that they're able to. I like Dak as you do. I've been a big fan of his. I love the way that he plays. I love that he's an old school quarterback, and that all that matters to him is winning games. The rest of it is insignificant, and he'll be the first to admit to that. And so I'm hopeful that he's able to get over the hump. And I know just getting to the NFC Championship game would be a real milestone for this football team, but they have bigger ambitions than that.
Well, Troy, you know as well as anybody for sure that the pressure on the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is probably bigger than any other team in the NFL. The spotlight is on you. But when you look at Dak Prescott and you tell me as a quarterback, does it help a quarterback to have some competition behind him, somebody that could actually threaten his job, or is it better to just know that you're the guy?
Well, I think I always think competition brings out the best in all of us. But I also know that there are those players, and Dak being one of them, that it wouldn't really matter who was the backup, that he's going to put in the same amount of time and work just hard. So I don't think that would necessarily motivate Dak any more than he's already motivated. He understands, and it's what I'm most proud of, to be quite honest with you. I'm proud that I was able to further the legacy of the Dallas Cowboys in the quarterback position by winning Super Bowls, and kind of build on what Roger Staubach and the team of the 70s were able to do. And you think about the career that Danny White had in taking them to 3 straight NFC Championship games. But a lot of people failed to acknowledge that because they didn't win the Super Bowl and followed Roger Staubach. But now that is the criteria, and that is the standard that has been set. And Dak understands that. So whether he had another quarterback, a veteran quarterback that was capable of stepping in and winning games, he had that in Andy Dalton a couple of years ago. I don't think it much matters. He's thinking about what he wants to accomplish for his own legacy, but also to just build on what we were able to do in the 90s and the teams of the 70s.
3-time Super Bowl winning at quarterback with the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, joining us here on the Blitz. And you look at Dak, and this year Mike McCarthy is going to call plays, which you think about the way he built his career as a play caller. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do in that area. What is your expectation for this Cowboys with McCarthy actually as the play caller?
Well, I don't think the bar can be set too high. I feel like Kellen Moore did a really good job as offensive coordinator. He had a great relationship with Dak Prescott. He was a teammate of his when Dak first came into the league, and then clearly became his coach and offensive coordinator. I was surprised when Mike took the job in Dallas that he won. I think it was a good decision, wanting to keep some continuity with what Dak was doing offensively, and kept Kellen Moore as the coordinator. But I know he enjoyed play calling when he was in Green Bay, and they had some prolific offenses when he was there. And of course, they had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers while he was coaching there as well. But those are fairly big shoes that he's stepping into with the job that Kellen did. And maybe the lack of success in the postseason is why the change was made, and why Mike then wanted to have more of his fingerprints on this offense. But he understands that at the end of the day, it doesn't much matter. And we've known this for a while, of what they're able to do in the regular season. It's what happens in the postseason. And that's when Mike's going to be judged as to what he's able to do offensively, and how good this team can be.
Troy, when you look at the NFL right now and some of the last Super Bowl winners, Kansas City not really included. But when you look at Tampa Bay and you look at the Rams before, they built their teams to win now. And it seems like Jerry Jones has never done that until perhaps this year. Do you think that that's what the Cowboys are doing with the addition of Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore and what they've done with that defense and putting some weapons around Dak?
Well, it's a fair question. I from my perspective, looking at it, I can certainly see why you and others might think, oh, well, they're going all in this year because they haven't been quite as active in years past in the off season, in the free agency market. But I just feel that, one, I think the personnel department's done a really nice job. And Will McClay gets a lot of credit for what he's been able to do, but all the scouts, everyone involved, the Joneses as well, they put together a really talented roster. But I think that the free agency acquisitions this year, those players you mentioned particularly, they were able to get those guys at really good prices. I was just talking to someone earlier today about Brandon Cooks. I've been a big fan of his since I first saw him back when he was playing for the New Orleans Saints. And the fact that he's been traded so many times and has played really well everywhere that he's been, I think he's a terrific player. So to get him with, I think they gave up a fifth-round pick, if my memory serves me right, which was a steal in my opinion. And then the same with Stephon Gilmore. So I think it was more that these two great players, Stephon being a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, that they could get them at a really good price and add to what they already have is what led them to then pick those guys up, which is really good for the Cowboys. They didn't give up much to do it. So they keep a lot of picks intact and they continue to grow this roster. And so I think that last year was a really talented roster. Every year is a little bit different, but going in, at least on paper, this is a pretty good group.
Well, that was Troy Aikman joining the Blitz earlier this week right here on San Antonio Sports Star. Of course, you can catch all of our interviews in the audio vault at sasportstar.com. Also on our YouTube page at SA Sports Star. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a former co-host of Jason Minix joined the Blitz as he has this great documentary coming out later the next week. On Tuesday, actually, it drops. Dat Nguyen, the man, the myth, the legend, All-American, will drop on Independence Day. The story of Dat Nguyen and his journey to, with, through the Aggies, Dallas Cowboys, all of that. You're going to want to stick around. Dat, one of the most amazing human beings I have been privileged to know in my life. Dat Nguyen coming up right here on San Antonio Sports Star. This is Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-60 to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
Texas, the Powerball jackpot is over $400 million, and you can now buy official Texas lottery tickets right from your phone with jackpot.com. Go to jackpot.com, choose your lottery game, pick your lucky numbers, and get your winnings instantly. Plus, get a free ticket with your first play. Get in on the action. Go to jackpot.com and buy lottery tickets on your phone. Go to jackpot.com. That's jackpot.com, jackpot.com.
Paid for by jackpot.com. You must be 18 or older to order a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Don't give in to that constant joint pain. Take control. Take back your quality of life today with help from QC Kinetics. Hey, it's James Pledger with 941 San Antonio Sports Star, and QC Kinetics is helping people every day here and across the country with their amazing non-surgical treatments that repair and restore damaged joint tissue. They use the latest advances in regenerative medicine, taking your own body's healing agents and concentrating them right in the area where you have agonizing pain. This incredible non-invasive approach helps you take control of your body, relieving the pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back. No invasive surgery, no harmful drugs or steroids, and best of all, no downtime. Listen, summertime needs to be about having fun, making memories, whether it's golfing, hiking, skiing, enjoying the outdoors. Take control now and start living life pain-free again. Call now for your free consultation with QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318. 210-571-0318. Locations in Hollywood Park, Westover Hills, and New Braunfels. Welcome back to Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I'm James Pledger. You can follow me on Twitter at @IamPledger. You can get the station right here at 656 ESPN, 210-656-3776, or you can comment along on our YouTube feed. Earlier this week, we got Dat Nguyen, the former co-host of The Blitz, who has this amazing documentary coming out on July 4th, 12th Man Productions. Jason and Joe caught up with him yesterday, and the biggest question was, because he is so averse to the public eye, why now with this documentary?
I think, you know what's crazy, you know this, we had opportunity for movies and etc., but it felt right. We started in 2019. A&M came and said, Andy Richardson and the production team came, hey, we want to do a documentary, what it is that we want to allow to share the story, not just my story, but I'm really the guinea pig of all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a whole line of other athletes that went through Texas A&M that are going to get to share their story. And so I was the guinea pig of this. I was, they fooled me. They tricked me into doing this, Jason. You know, I don't like all the public stuff to do, but I thought when we were asked, I thought about, wow, this is a chance. God had given me a platform to do a lot of things in my career. Obviously, get to work with you guys and being down there for a few years, coach at A&M, played A&M, Cowboys, coach at the Cowboys, played with the Cowboys. And now with Chick-fil-A, it's been an unbelievable ride. And I just thought that the Gen 2s or the Gen 3s or the future generation of the Vietnamese descent, they might not knew exactly what had happened. So you guys will get to see that in that story in the documentary. And for me, also, we all get an opportunity to get a paper and a pen and we write a story. And I was fortunate to write a story. You guys are part of that story. We cross paths. And I think that's what's so cool about the whole thing is that from high school to college to professionally, man, I'm just trying to share a story and inspire other people, kids to dream and people that don't. Hey, there's a chance you are unique, you are special
And
in this way.
You know what, Dad? That's what's amazing. I watched the trailer, and I tell you, just the trailer, it gets me excited to see the documentary.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job on that. But, you know, just strictly football-wise and growing up and some of the things that you overcome, you're such an inspiration to a lot of people because I know you were told a lot of times that you're too small, you can't do this, and yet you were at the top of your game. I mean, that just has to be incredible when you look back and see everything that you were able to do and accomplish.
Yeah, and it's all because of people, too. And it goes back to what I just mentioned. I had a lot of great coaches. I had a lot of great players. I was in the right place at the right time. When you watch the documentary, you see how my career started. I told you the story multiple times. And I shared this with a lot of people. I said, you never know when the opportunity is going to be. You know, the guy that was in front of me at Texas A&M, my redshirt freshman year, might be the bottom. I was bottom of the dumps. I never thought I was going to play at that level. Never thought I would even ever wear the maroon and white jersey. And I gave myself a chance, meaning I listened to one guy. My high school coach said, hey, the game of football is going to end one day. You got to go back to Texas A&M and get that degree. So I didn't want to hear that at 18 years old, but I went back and I did that, and I worked myself to give myself an opportunity. 6 o'clock in the morning, I was in the gym. 8 o'clock, I went to class. 12 o'clock, I was in the gym again. 4 o'clock, I was back with the team. And I did that for a whole year just because I wanted to prove people that I do belong and that do have an ability to play at this level. Even though there was doubt at that time, but I worked myself from, 9th, 10th, 11th on the depth chart, all the way up that off season, that summer, to be a backup to the guy that was on my class who started or played the year before, was going to start the next 3 years at Texas A&M. He's the next great linebacker there at the Wrecking Crew. Going on the game, I knew he was going to be there for 3 years. Hey, I might have a chance after 3 years when he decides to leave, and I hope that he leaves in 2 years to go to professionally. And that I might have a chance to start at A&M, and right now I'm just going to contribute as a special teams player, play where you need it, whatever. So I did that, mindset that, and then all of a sudden lead up to the first game of my redshirt freshman year. We're about to play LSU on a Saturday, Wednesday. We were practicing football. Coach R.C. Slocum, go guys, say, get on the line. We're going to run sprints. And Lord and behold, man, the guy that was starting in front of me, the guy that's going to be the next All-American, steps on a sprinkler head, twists his ankle, and can't play. And that's how my career started at Texas A&M.
Wow.
That one got the start, never gave that job back, and led the team in tackles every year. The great Dat Wynn joining us here on the Blitz on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Dat, by your answer on the documentary, you've seen it, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Because I know I was going to, I wondered if you were going to wait and watch it with people, if you're going to watch it by yourself, because I was talking to one of the SIDs at A&M today who said he's watched it 3 times and tears up at the same spot all 3 times he has watched it. At what point while you were watching the documentary did it get you?
Well, you know what? Things move so fast, and I think a lot of athletes or professional athletes will tell you that when you're competing and you're on a schedule, your workout schedule, you're on a season schedule, you get to not enjoy the moment. And I think looking back, I didn't enjoy as much as I should have when I was with the Cowboys at A&M. I was trying to prove myself every year, thinking that I was going to lose my job every year, just like I did the Cowboys. But I think the biggest part that really hit me, Jason and Joe, was that, if you really look at the story, we came from Vietnam. We left Vietnam during the war. We come to America. We settled in a small town in Rockport. We came from a village south of Saigon called Bin Da. Amazing to me. And God works on this. He's ironic. God's amazing. It's, Bin Da translates to Port Rock. And I lived in Port Rock for the last 40, 30 years of my life. And what's crazy is that we, or myself, sitting back now, and really a few years ago, I realized that we saw the whole community change. When we moved there, we got there, things were, there's a lot of tension. There was a lot of uncomfortable situations. And for a Friday, look in the stands, and it doesn't matter the color you are, it doesn't matter who you were, but you were rooting for the same team that's playing out there, and now it's a community. And that's, I think, was the best part of the whole experience of my career, my life, is that, hey, we saw a whole town transform to accepting the outsiders to be one of them.
Dad, how difficult was that? You growing up and coming to America and growing up with some of that hostility and some of the stuff that you had to go through. How difficult was it to get through all that?
Well, I think as a kid, I don't think you experienced it much. I think my parents would tell you that it was a little bit more difficult for them. English, the language barrier, etc. All right, and then for us, we just knew that we were each other. It's all we had was each other. And I can remember in fifth grade or first grade going to school. I was 5 years old. My mom said, "Hey, make sure you stay with your brothers or your cousins. You know, we don't know who we can trust or we can play with." And I didn't know. I just wanted to go recess. Right? I just want a soccer ball. I want a football. Whatever the ball you give me, I just want to go play. But I know that from my side of it, it was a little bit more cush than my parents or my relatives. I experienced it because if you go back, it's just, think about now. If you settle, you have an occupation, you're raising a family, so a group of people comes in and they kind of invading your occupation and your space. It's going to be a little bit different, to give up a little bit more than what you had or what you've been established, or could have been generation brought down to your family. So for my family and my older siblings, I think they can attest to share more stories of how difficult that was. For me, sport really helped me adapt and adjust to growing up down there with the different community and different backgrounds. So it wasn't as difficult, Joe.
That is the great Dat win. And one of the most profound things he said during that entire interview, which you could catch at sasportstar.com, I think, was when talking about the Dallas Cowboys, Micah Parsons, he could not say enough good things about.
I tell people all the time, that kid right there, the Mike Parsons kid, can be an all-pro at 3 positions. He can be a strong safety coming down in the box, be a box safety, he can be a linebacker, obviously, then be defensive end. He can be an all-pro at all 3 positions if he stays at any of those positions. So you got a dynamic player that can really be utilized in a game and a game plan that offense really has to account for. I still remember the stories of Joe Theismann. He used to go on the line, and he goes up to the line, and he looks around, and he's like, "Hey, where's 56? Where's Taylor at?" You know what I mean? When you have that guy like Michael Parsons, they need to know where he's at, because if not, you already won by mentally challenging a quarterback to worry about, hey, where's 11? I don't see 11. Where's he at? When he starts thinking about 11, you already got him beat.
You already got him beat, and trust me, everybody's thinking at 11 of all times when you're playing against the Dallas Cowboys. More coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure, right here on San Antonio Sports Star, as Michelle Beadle joined the Blitz to talk about Wemby Mania, and we relive some of the best of that interview when we come back right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM and sasportstar.com.
It's R&R in the morning.
Friday on R&R in the morning, it is RJ Ochoa showtime. He'll join us at 7:30.
NBA free agency is imminent. Are the Spurs going to make a move? It's going to be a busy weekend. We'll talk about that in your favorite place to be when the fireworks are going off. The party starts at 6. Yeah, I said it.
It's your wake-up call. R&R in the morning, 6 to 10 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Hi, I'm attorney Steve Benke. If you've made the decision to divorce, you need an experienced attorney who can help. I've helped many people get through divorce, custody, child support, and alimony problems. Call me. I'm attorney Steve Benke.
210-DIVORCE or go to BenkeLaw.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Mr. W. Fireworks, home to the lowest price fireworks around. Our prices are 50 to 80% lower than our neighbors. 50 to 80% lower prices. Now that's a lot of saving. Shop early with us and save even more. Buy items at all Mr. W. Fireworks San Antonio locations. Visit MrWFireworks.com to find a location near you. MrWFireworks.com. Light up your 4th of July with Mr. W. Fireworks. Look for the Big 8 and save big only at Mr. W. Fireworks.
Car wrecks can wreck your life. They can leave you with medical bills, lost wages. Most importantly, they can leave you with lasting pain. That's why you should call Hilly & Solis. Hey, guys, it's Rudy J, and I'm here to tell you about Hilly & Solis. They're former prosecutors that know how to fight and know how to win. They're going to listen to your story and guide you through the legal process. They want to get you all the compensation you deserve. Insurance companies have their own interests in mind, so you have to keep that in mind. And their goal is to settle that claim as fast as possible for as little money as possible, but you deserve more, and Hilly & Solis understands that. Compensation for your injuries, your medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering It's so important, though, that you act quickly after the car wreck. Evidence disappears, memories fade, and statutes of limitations may apply. So call them right now for your free, no obligation consultation right now. 210-762-6261. That's 210-762-61. 210-762-6261.
Principal office in San Antonio, Texas. Message brought to you by a non-attorney spokesperson.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health San Antonio will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 210-615-7777. That's 210-615-7777. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
Texas, the Powerball jackpot is over $400 million, and you can now buy official Texas lottery tickets right from your phone with jackpot.com. Go to jackpot.com, choose your lottery game, pick your lucky numbers, and get your winnings instantly. Plus, get a free ticket with your first play. Get in on the action. Go to jackpot.com and buy lottery tickets on your phone. Go to jackpot.com. That's jackpot.com, jackpot.com.
Paid for by jackpot.com. You must be 18 or older to order a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is Rob Thompson from R&R in the Morning. Join us tomorrow morning at 6 on your ride to work. Now more with Joe and Amber on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
You're wrong, Rob. It's not Joe and Andrew. It's Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I'm James Pledger. We have all been taken by Wemby Mania. Ever since the lottery balls have fallen in, some of us have been screaming about the diligence that needed to happen for the chance to get them in the first place for years now. And so here we are. The Spurs worked the plan. The plan worked. Wemby is now in San Antonio. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the next in a long line of greats has supposedly walking through those doors. And the next met with a bunch of the formers at a dinner with Sean Elliott, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, David Robinson, Greg Popovich. And some things came from that dinner, one of them being the questions he asked. Not normal 19-year-old questions. It shows how far beyond his years he is maturity-wise. And Beadle joined the Blitz. Michelle Beadle, who is a correspondent with the Spurs and does other media things, talked about Wemby's maturity level and being able to know the right questions to ask at that dinner.
Yeah, I think he found himself sitting at a table. I mean, being a kid growing up in France, and knowing Boris Diaw, knowing Tony Parker, and sort of looking up to them, the Spurs connection being obvious. I think he found himself in one of those wow arrival moments. And it didn't seem to intimidate him, which I think is great. But I cool family quality to what the Spurs have here. The fact that these guys are all still around, they're willing, they're available to have dinner and kind of sit down and embrace the new generation. It's awesome. I mean, his family was there. They were at the table next to them. I think Pop spent time talking to the family as well. So they are being welcomed with giant, open, warm arms. And I think that's what he needs because let's be honest, he's a teenager. His whole life just changed. You got to get settled now in a new city, and I think he's in the best case scenario for exactly that.
Michelle Beadle joining us here on the Blitz. She had a great sit down with Victor following the press conference. Anything in that interview that you could tell us about that maybe you learned that you haven't heard over the last week or so of interviews that he's been doing?
Well, he's nervous that he's not going to be able to find any good baguettes and croissants. I told him, I was like, you might not. I mean, look, I'll eat a baguette from H-E-B. They're delicious. Put them in the oven for a second. But I also understand where he's coming from. It's a different world altogether. But I think he's excited. I think he's really just excited to get settled. Even when we were sort of wrapping things up, because we're like, well, what do you do now? All the Nike athletes have to head up to Portland for a little while. With the announcement today that he will not be playing for the French team, I think that buys him a little bit of less of a workload. I'm not going to say rest. I don't think there's any rest in his near future, but at least he can have one more thing that's just sort of off the table. And yeah, think about what it's like to move to a new city. Now think about doing that as a kid. To me, it's a hell of an endeavor.
New city and new country for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, everything
is
going to be insane. I'm curious. I mean, I think about your career, Michelle, all the superstars that you've worked with and or talked to throughout your career. The Spurs have not had a player with that kind of star level. I mean, Tim was there, but Tim did not want that kind of spotlight. Victor is very comfortable in that spotlight. And I was saying earlier in the show, that's normal for him. It's not overwhelming for him. But from the Spurs side of things, what is the biggest adjustment you think the team, the franchise, is going to have to make in dealing with having a player of his star power?
I mean, I think that is sort of something maybe that people don't realize. It's one thing for Wemby to come here and acclimate and figure out who he is in this league, but the Spurs are so used to doing it a certain way, the Spurs way. I mean, you and I have been around long enough. We've dealt with the team long enough. They are very good at sort of insulating themselves to the outside world and keeping the players in. And the thing about that is this is a new world from when Tim Duncan was the star. It is social media driven. These kids all have their branding and their identities. They're all very comfortable in front of cameras. I mean, some go out of their way to find themselves in front of a camera. So I will be curious to see who does more adapting. Do they adapt more to him, or is he going to have to adapt more to them? I hope they find a middle ground because I think there's value in allowing, especially all the young, I mean, the whole team's young, for goodness sake, letting them just be. Because I'm not saying they need to be, Grady Dick with the ridiculous TikTok accounts, but somewhere in the middle, I think it's fun for everybody. And I hope we get to see a little bit of that.
That was Michelle Beadle joining the Blitz earlier this week. You're listening to Extra Innings here on San Antonio Sports Star as we get ready to pour one out the door.
Pour me, pour me, pour me, pour me.
That's right. We're going to pour one out the door as we give it up to Spurs GM Brian Wright. Spurs GM Brian Wright. You couldn't mess much up having the number 1 overall pick, but everything they've done to this point has been airtight, quiet, tight-lipped. We didn't even really know they were taking Wemby. They wouldn't even say that for the most part. So they've kept things very close to the vest, and he's going to continue to do so till tomorrow when they finally make their moves. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM and ESPNSA.com. Have a great night.
KTFM Floresville. This is 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, your home for the Aggies. This is